So yeah, if you listen carefully to a military analyst, who people who have worked as a foreign diplomat in these countries and strategic panels, a few underlying patterns you will see emerging it out of it. Firstly, this was never meant to be a clean regime change. The initial strikes, what we know as Operation Lion's Roar, were designed to decapitate the leadership and paralyze the Iran quickly. And in one sense, they succeeded quite carefully. But if you see, the supreme leadership was hit, command structures were disrupted, the cyber networks were blinded in the opening phase. But here is a deeper problem that we do not see, that Iran did not collapse. It tried adapting into the situations, and that is what many military analysts who has worked in these regions have said time and again, that civilizations do not die so much easily, that they are not dependent on such or one individuals to fight the war with any power no matter what. And in this situation, this is currently the most powerful militarily capable army, that is America. Secondly, the Iran strategy is very simple. That what they are trying to do, that is, if we fall, we will take the system down with us. And experts have pointed out a critical mindset within Iran, that if the regime faces the existential collapse, it will expand the battlefield outward. That means they will start targeting to the regions and locations that they do not even have interest with America, or they have the allies with America. And now you can see that playing out: missile strikes on Israel, the proxy activation of Lebanon and the Gulf pressure, threats to the shipping lanes, cyber retaliation attempts, which is done to escalate this war to different battlefields and regions. So this is not escalation by just mere an accident that Iran has done. This is an escalation that was designed before the death of Khamenei. And thirdly, the war, which has already crossed into the systematic disruption phase, that from expert panels and think tanks, it is very evident that global markets are destabilized already. Energy flows are uncertain, airspaces and logistics are disrupted. This means the war is no longer a regional in consequences, that it is not between just Israel, USA, and Iran. It has gone to those situations and scenarios where we do not have control even now. So this means the war is no longer regional at this juncture. It is structural in very impact. Now let me bring you back to the part that the war is quietly shifting from destruction to adaptation competition. Israel, US side is very superior in technology. There is a cyber dominance. There is a precision in strikes of what they are doing. But Iran's response is very saturated with their missiles and drones. The cost imposition strategy, that means the cheap versus expensive interceptors, they have much better into those paradigm. The psychological warfare, this is what military calls an asymmetric cost war. That, for example, a single interceptor missile can cost hundreds of thousands of dollars of America, and that is what it is happening. A drone or cluster munition cost far less than what it can be imagined to. So even if Iran is weaker conventionally, it can bleed the system economically and psychologically over a period of time. Now let us connect this to the biggest hidden layer. That is, there are three realistic directions this can go. Path one, that is controlled de-escalation, that it will require the US restrain Iran accepting the symbolic victory. But the problem is that Iran has already paid too much to cost to step back, and US credibility is now tied to the outcome. And to many strategists, it is already a loss for US, because war are run by goals. War are done by strategy to achieve a certain objective. But if you ask a normal American what achieved they had, what goals they achieved, and what targets that they were trying to achieve with this war, and you see that this whole panel of American strategists, or the people who are working behind it, are changing their courses, are changing their strategies, are changing their post and targets every week. And that is not how technically the wars are run. Wars are done with specific targets, specific positions to claim. And that is where the America has lost the war already. uh, Path two is that regional spillover can happen. We are seeing the early signs of Lebanon front heating up. The Gulf states are already under pressure. The shipping disruptions has already been came into the force. So this leads to a multi-front Middle East war that is happening around now. Part three is the long war of attrition. That means, which is most probable, according to me, that this is where things are heading. There will be no total war, there will be no total peace, but a prolonged period of time, there will be missile exchanges, cyber warfare, and there will be economic pressure, of course. So exactly the kind of war where no one wins technically, but everyone gets reshaped slowly and over a period of time. Now let me bring back India into this, and how India is going to see this, where it becomes a really uncomfortable situation. That firstly, the energy vulnerability with India is too much. That Hormuz stimulity directly is affecting India, because a sheer number of proportion is being 90%, I guess, of natural gas is being, as a country we are dependent on Iran. The oil prices have spikes hit inflation immediately. So these are not abstract data or documents. These are domestic politics that is happening around us. There is a strategic balance which is collapsing. India has traditionally balanced all these five nations. That means Iran, Israel, US, and Gulf. But now we can see that visible closeness with Israel, dependence on the Iranian energy routes, or BRICS alignment pressures. Now this will all again will create contradiction, and that is the problem with too much of NAM, that is non-alignment movement, that you try to be with everyone, but eventually those everyone will not be in friends with them. So what choices you will take and what sides you will tilt to, that will become a more problematic situation for India. The BRICS dilemma is the biggest one that I can see for that. Within the BRICS, Iran wants a diplomatic backing from India, China wants the strategic leverage, and India wants neutrality in all this whole situation. But neutrality in such a scenario where every country that India was trying to balance is becoming impossible, because when there is a dependence over a period of time as a civilizational history, you cannot try to maintain that collateral, or you let that collateral damage with every country, because some or the other way you have to try and understand that, is it visible to take the sides. You cannot take the side of Israel as well, because Israel is very open on front with Pakistan and India relation, but it is very quiet with the China and India relation. If you see, even when Galwan happened, Israel did not had any kind of foreign or did not had any kind of diplomatic channel talks with India as well, to have the conversation going, that what wrong and what situationally China was trying to do at that moment of time was technically what China is known for, that they are trying to poke the country, and when the retaliation happens, they flabbergasted themselves as that they were on the right side. But Israel, knowing all these situations and factors, did not commented upon whether their superior leadership has, or whether their diplomatic channels, whether their any kind of position, supreme position leaders did not talked about it. So we lack there itself. Also the fact that the fact that we believe that Israel is our greatest of friends, but only when it is with Pakistan. But with China, it has no collateral relationship with India as well. It tries to be quiet, and India does the same. That if Israel has any war and issues with the Gulf nations, India tries to be quiet. So the bigger picture is here, that the war is not deciding whether who wins between Iran and Israel, but US is already losing it. It is deciding what kind of Middle East emerges after this whole situation. um, I feel that Iran will survive and will become more militarized and closed. Israel will win tactically, but they will enter into a prolonged security trap. US will expend its resources too much without achieving any clear or clean strategic closure. China will quietly position itself for reconstruction and energy leverage to Iran, and eventually will have all the powers, the domains structurally present in Iran as a proxy, and India will lose the strategic flexibility and will forced to take the harder choices of which they will fall to. So this is not uh, a war where you will see victory side cheering it out, but this will be a war of transformation. The regimes, the alliances, the economic flows, everything will be reshaped in real time, and we will be seeing this in one year for sure. And like such moments in history, the biggest consequences are not the ones we are loudly debating today, but the ones that will become visible a few years later when the structure has already changed.